I've got to tell you that being here with all of you today feels a little bit like coming home. First of all, because San Diego's weather is like Hawaii's. I don't know how anybody does any work around here. But also because while I stand here as a candidate for President of the United States, I will never forget that the most important experience in my life came when I was doing what many of you do each and every day, working on the ground in our communities to bring about change. Now, as some of you know, after college, I moved to Chicago, and I went to work for a group of churches to help families that had been devastated when the local steel plants closed down. And as some of you know, the southeast side of Chicago is an enormous Latino community. And I knew change in those communities wouldn't come easily. But I also knew it wouldn't come at all if we didn't start bringing people together. So I reached out to community leaders, black, brown, and white, and we formed coalitions on issues ranging from failing schools to illegal dumping to unimmunized children. We set up job training programs for the jobless. We helped prevent students from dropping out of school and taught people to stand up to their government when their government was not standing up for them. And that work taught me a fundamental truth that has guided me ever since, that in this country, change does not come from the top down. Change comes from the bottom up. Change doesn't happen just because someone in Washington says it should. Instead, change starts when you teach a child to read, or you register someone to vote, or you help a family buy their first home and then help that family stay in that first home. It starts when you heal broken bodies and troubled spirits, when you organize neighborhoods into coalitions and workers into unions. It starts when you send leaders to Washington who are committed to taking this country in a new direction and hears the voices of everyone, not just the wealthy and the powerful, but those young people in the barrios, those young people in the inner cities, those young people in rural communities who feel as if they've been left behind. That's the kind of change that the National Council of La Raza is making each and every day. And the theme of this conference is the work of your lives, strengthening America together. It's been the work of this organization for 4 decades, lifting up families and transforming communities across America. And for that, I honor you, I congratulate you, I thank you, and I wish you another 40 years as extraordinary as your last 40 years. I am absolutely certain that it will come. But I also come before you today at a defining moment for our nation. I'm thinking about an article I read in the newspaper a while back about struggling schools in Los Angeles. And the article told the story of a boy named Gonzalo, who started falling behind in the 7th grade and wasn't getting the support he needed to catch up. When his mother called the school to complain, nothing happened. Nothing changed. All she hit was a bureaucracy. And she said to the newspaper reporter, and I quote, "Maybe the system is not designed for people like us." Maybe the system is not designed for people like us. It was a comment about education, but it reflects a broader feeling that so many people share, that the system just isn't working for them. And they're right, it's not. The system isn't working when a child in a crumbling school graduates without learning to read or doesn't graduate at all. The system's not working when a young person at the top of her class, a young person with so much to offer this country, can't attend a public college or university. The system isn't working. The system isn't working when Hispanics are losing their jobs faster than almost anybody else, or working jobs that pay less and come with fewer benefits than almost anybody else. The system isn't working when 12 million people living in hiding and hundreds of thousands are crossing our borders illegally each year, when companies hire undocumented immigrants instead of legal citizens because they want to avoid paying overtime or avoid unionization or exploiting those workers, when communities are terrorized by ICE immigration raids, when nursing mothers are torn from their babies, when children come home from school to find their parents missing, when people are detained without access to legal counsel, when all that's happening, the system just isn't working, and we need to change it. I know how frustrated many of you are right now. Your jobs are hard on a good day, and having a president who cuts your budgets doesn't help. Having a president who's torn gaping holes in the safety net for the people you serve doesn't help. Having a struggling economy, an economy that's left so many people in need of your assistance, that doesn't help either. I know sometimes you get tired. Sometimes you start to lose heart. You start to feel like you're walking that long, hard road alone, like no one sees the sacrifices you make or appreciates the services you provide. But I know how hard you're working. I know the difference you're making in our communities. And I am here today to make you this promise. I will be a president who stands with you and fights for you and walks with you every single step of the way. Because here's something else I know, that when the system isn't working, people who love the country can come together to change it. That's the history of the Hispanic community in America. From fighting to desegregate our schools and our neighborhoods, to organizing farm workers, to standing up for the rights of immigrants. You've reminded us that those words about liberty and equality put to paper over 200 years ago have to mean something. And you've sought to remake the nation in the shape of those ideals. It's a work that reflects the character of this community, in which so many people have come here with so little but had big dreams and big hearts and a thirst to succeed, a willingness to struggle and sacrifice so the next generation doesn't have to, an obligation to everyone in one's family and in one's community. That sense that we're in this thing together, that I am my brother's keeper, that I am my sister's keeper. It's the same reason my own father came here from Kenya so many years ago, in the hope that here in America, you can make it if you try. For centuries, those values of hard work and patriotism and faith and family, the values that have made the Hispanic community so strong, have made America strong too. That's what's at stake this November. This election is nothing less than a test of our allegiance to the American dream. And it's a test of our commitment to all those who are counting on us to keep that dream alive. The people you serve every single day, the 12 million people in the shadows, the communities taking immigration enforcement into their own hands, the neighborhoods seeing rising tensions as citizens are pitted against new immigrants. They're counting on us to stop the hateful rhetoric filling our airwaves, rhetoric that poisons our political discourse and degrades our democracy and has no place in this great nation. They're counting on us to rise above fear and demagoguery, the pettiness and the partisanship, and finally enact comprehensive immigration reform. Now, I know Senator McCain used to buck his party on immigration by fighting for comprehensive reform, and I admired him for it and joined him in it. But when he was running for his party's nomination, he abandoned that courageous stance and said that he wouldn't even support his own legislation if it came up for a vote. I don't know about you, but I think it's time for a president who won't walk away from something as important as comprehensive reform just because it becomes politically unpopular. That's the commitment I'm making to you. I marched with you in the streets of Chicago. I fought for you in the Senate. And I will make it a top priority in my first year as President of the United States of America. Not just because we need to secure our borders and get control of who comes in to this country, not just because we have to crack down on employers who are abusing undocumented immigrants, but because we have to finally bring those 12 million people out of the shadows and give them a pathway. Yes, they broke the law, and we should not excuse that. We should require them to pay a fine. We should require them to learn English. They should go to the back of the line for citizenship, behind those who came here legally, but we cannot and should not have 12 million people in the shadows. That would turn America into something we're not, something we don't want to be. While we work to strengthen our borders, we need a practical solution for the problem of 12 million people who are here without documentation, many of whom have lived and worked here for years. That's why we need to offer those who are willing to make amends a pathway to citizenship. That way we can reconcile our values as both a nation of immigrants and a nation of laws. We can do both, and that's what I intend to do when I'm President of the United States. But let me say this, Lanasa. There's much more to this election than resolving the status of undocumented immigrants. And there's much more that the people all across the country in the Latino community care about. Now, this election is also about the couple I met in North Las Vegas who saved up for decades only to be tricked into buying a home they couldn't afford. It's about the Latino families who were the first ones hurt by an economic downturn and the last ones helped by an economic upturn. They can't afford another 4 years of the Bush economic policies that John McCain is offering. Policies that give tax breaks to the biggest corporations and the wealthiest Americans while doing little for struggling families who need help the most. They're counting on us to restore a sense of fairness to our economy by giving tax relief to working families, by supporting our unions, by ending tax breaks for companies that ship jobs overseas and giving them to companies that create jobs right here in the United States. They're counting on us finally coming together to solve this housing crisis that's devastating our communities. I especially want to commend NCLR for your leadership on this issue, for helping so many families avoid fraud and foreclosure. I think it's time you had a president who actually supported your work, and I intend to be that president. This election is also about Latino students who are dropping out of school faster than nearly anyone else. And I notice we've got some extraordinary young people behind me. These are our success stories. But we know that in the Latino community, in the African American community, in many rural and impoverished communities, that too many young people, they've given up hope way too early. The children who attend overflowing classes in underfunded schools taught by teachers who aren't getting the support they need, who don't have after-school programs and summer school programs and places to go when they're out of school. They're counting on us to invest in early childhood education, to stop leaving the money behind for No Child Left Behind, to recruit an army of new teachers, to make college affordable for anyone who wants to go. Because that's how we'll give every American the skills they need to compete in the global economy and all our children the chance to live their dreams. This election's about working women who can't find affordable child care or after-school programs for their children. Women forced to lose their wages or quit their jobs to care for a newborn baby or an elderly parent. They're counting on us to help them make a living while raising their kids, to fight for equal pay for equal work, and for child care, and for family leave, and for sick leave, because here in America, there should be no second-class citizens in our workplaces. The women who serve in hospitals, who are making the hotel beds, who are serving luncheon right here in this hotel, they should have some rights too. Somebody should be standing up for them too and fighting for them too. That's why I'm running for President of the United States. All those quiet heroines out there, raising 3, 4, 5 kids on a meager salary, but somehow holding it together, making ends meet, because they know that it's going to create a better future for their children and their grandchildren. This election's about the veterans, including so many men and women from the Latino community who've served this country so bravely, but then come home to face new battles with the bureaucracy of the VA or the deplorable conditions in places like Fort Bragg and Walter Reed. We've all walked by a veteran whose home is now a cardboard box on a street corner. It's a disgrace. These American heroes are counting on us to build a 21st century VA to provide the benefits in health care that they've earned, including mental health care, and to ensure that no one who has served this country, that no one who has ever served this country ever has to sleep on the streets. This election is about the nearly 1 in 3 Hispanics who don't have health care. People for whom one accident, one illness can lead to financial ruin. It's about the small businesses, the small business owners who are struggling to stay afloat because of rising costs of insuring their employees or insuring themselves. They're counting on us to fix our broken health care system once and for all. Here's Senator McCain's answer to our health care crisis. Vote against expanding the Children's Health Insurance Program, a program that provides health care for millions of children in need, and propose a radical plan that would shred our current system of employer-based health care and tax individual workers for their health benefits for the first time in history. A plan that would be financed by a $3.6 trillion tax increase on the middle class, an increase of more than $1,000 per typical family. Under the McCain plan, many Americans could lose their health care that they have and pay more in taxes for the health care that they get. So I have a very different answer when it comes to our health care crisis. I will take on the drug and the insurance companies. We're going to cut costs. We're going to guarantee health insurance for anyone who needs it and make it affordable for anyone who wants it. Everybody. If you need health care, if you're a service worker somewhere who doesn't have health care through your employer, you're going to be able to get health care that is as good as the health care I have as a member of Congress. And if you can't afford it, we will subsidize you. And today, I'm announcing a new aspect of my plan to provide real relief for small business owners who are crushed by rising costs. An idea, by the way, that was championed by my friend Hillary Clinton, who's been leading the way in our battle to insure every American. It's a plan that would help more employers provide health benefits for their workers, instead of making it harder for them, as Senator McCain would do. We know that small businesses are the engines of economic prosperity in our communities, especially in the Latino community. And under my plan, if you're a small business that wants to provide health care to your employees, we will give you a tax credit to make it affordable. My plan won't impose any new burdens on small businesses. Instead, we'll help them not just create new jobs, but good jobs, jobs with health care, jobs that stay right here in America, the kinds of jobs we need in our communities. That's how we're going to change the system in this country. But NCLR, let me say this, I can't do this alone. So I'm here today to ask you for your help. Make no mistake about it, the Latino community holds this election in its hands. You hold this election in your hands. Some of the closest contests this November are going to be in states like Florida and Colorado and Nevada and New Mexico states with large Latino populations. And if you have any doubt about whether you can make a difference, just remember how back in 2004, 40,000 registered Latino voters in New Mexico didn't turn out on Election Day. Senator Kerry lost that state by fewer than 6,000 votes. 6,000 votes. Today, in 2008, an estimated 170,000 Latinos in New Mexico aren't registered to vote. I know how powerful this community is. And by the way, so does John McCain. Just think about how powerful you could be on November 4th if you translate your numbers into votes. And I'm not taking a single Latino vote for granted in this campaign. We're meeting with Latino leaders across the country. We're reaching out to Latino organizations to get input on my policy proposals. We've got a nationwide Hispanic media strategy. We're recruiting and training Latino organizers. We're holding Latino voter registration drives across America. And when I'm president, I'll be asking many of you to serve at every level of government, because that's how we're going to change the direction of this country from the ground up, vote by vote, precinct by precinct, state by state. And I hope every single one of you will join us. I need your advice and expertise. I need you to organize people, to knock on doors and make phone calls and register voters. I need you to talk to your friends and your family, your coworkers and your neighbors, and make sure they cast their ballots on Election Day. We walked together on the streets of Chicago. We walked together when I was a civil rights lawyer, registering Hispanic voters and giving Hispanics a greater voice in City Hall. We walked together in those marches for immigration reform. And if we get to the polls this November, then we will walk together through those White House doors. And we are going to shake things up. And we are going to walk into a new future for this country that we all love. That's how we'll make the system work for everyone, by living up to the ideals of NCLR, living up to the ideals of this organization, the ideals reflected in your name, La Raza, the people. I'm told that the original phrase was La Raza Cosmica, the cosmic people. That's big. A term big enough to embrace the rich tapestry of cultures and colors and faiths that make up the Hispanic community. Big enough to embrace the notion that we are all part of a greater community, that we all have a stake in each other, that I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper, that we rise and fall together as one people. So to that mother and all those who feel like the system just isn't made for people like them, I say this: that system and this country belongs to every one last of us. Every one of us. Black, white, Latino, Asian, rich, poor, gay, straight, young, old, Native American, new immigrant. This November, we're coming together to turn the page on the failed policies of the past, to bring new energy and new ideas to the challenges that we face. And together, we are not just going to win this election, we will transform this nation. Thank you, and God bless you. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much.